This little video is to show you how to use a fixed loop in LiveCode. I'm going to program a problem that just finds the average height of a number of plants. So I've made a storage location in RAM called plant height, and I'm going to write a program that will read in plant heights, and as I go I'm going to add them onto a total. So I'm going to need another storage location called total. So I'll type in the first plant height 13 and add it onto my total, and then I'm going to type in the next plant height, add it onto my total, so I've got 19, and another one, say 10, get 29, 11 maybe, and get 40. I'm just making up these plant heights as I go on, say 8, which will give me 48 as my total. And once I've added them all up, I'm going to calculate the average. So I'll need another storage location called average, and I've entered 5 plants, so I'll need to take my total, divide by 5, and I get 9.6, I think. So I have the idea of repeatedly doing a particular task, and then another task that happened right at the end. Now, in LiveCode, you can't just say repeat something 5 times. You actually have to have a little counter, or well, you can call it anything you want, but you do need a storage location that tracks which time around the loop you are on. So I'm just going to show you how that works. So I'm going to start my counter off at 1, and then I'll read in the first plant height, it's 13, add it onto my total. Then I'll go on to my second plant height, 6, add it onto my total, so I'll get 19. Go on to my third plant height, 10. Add it onto my total, so I'll get 29. Fourth plant height, 11. And so I get 40. And then a fifth plant height, say 8. Add it onto the total, so I get 48. And then, having done all of that, I can now go on and calculate the average, which you know from maths is the total divided by the number of plants. So I'll have this total divided by however many plants I had, 5. So I've got 9.6. So the only other thing I want to point out before we go over to LiveCode is, I'll just get rid of these. You have to be quite careful about your storage locations. First of all, you need to make sure they're called, you give them meaningful variable names, which is what I've set up here, just to make sure the program's readable. But the other thing is you can't be too sure of what values are in them, storage locations, before you start using them. So I'm going to make sure that my total starts off at 0, and that's probably the first thing I should do in the program before I start counting and getting the plant heights and adding them on and so on and so forth. Just going to move that over a bit so you can see that. Is make sure totals start off at 0. So that would be sort of my first step, and then I can get my counter going, and then add it onto total, so I get 13. My second plant height, add it onto total, so I get 19. But it's just important to make sure that my total gets started off at 0. Otherwise we can't be absolutely certain that we've got the right answer at the end. Here's my fifth plant, 8, total of 48, and then I have this final step where I calculate the average and I get 9.6. So I have sort of 3 things going on there. I start the total off at 0, do my adding, and then calculate the average.